Ryan Clark at it again. Friday morning on Get Up, coming off of the kickoff game, he and new ESPNer Peter Schrager got into a pretty ridiculously mild disagreement, all things considered, in terms of the stakes of the football conversation over CeeDee Lamb's up and down performance and who would feel worse coming off the game versus him, and Eagles star A.J. Brown, who wasn't really involved but got the win, and just typical chatter on a sports studio show. And for whatever reason, Ryan Clark took that opportunity to call out Schrager and say that his opinion, which was that CD could, still had a great game and might actually even feel better about how he was playing than A.J. Brown did, said that's the non-player in you talking. We have a clip, actually, that I saved for us. We'll play it now.
Wake up this morning. Are you feeling, okay, you look at A.J. Brown, which is this number one wide receiver who got one target all night, and then you got CeeDee Lamb. But that's the,
when was the one target?
That's the target,
but
though.
I'm saying, when was the one target?
I'm saying you could have it both ways.
54 seconds left in the game on 2nd and 11. It was the one target. He runs the out route.
You wake up this morning saying A.J. Brown
had
a better day than CeeDee Lamb?
But you know what you wake up saying, though? A.J. Brown's team is 1-0.
Of course.
Right, that's what,
I get it.
But the thing is this, though, and we shouldn't do this on TV, and so I apologize if people think this is rude. That's the non-player.
Oh, stop! CeeDee Lamb is.
Let me tell you why. I'm not looking
at fantasy football, Ryan. I'm not. Don't belittle me like that. I could come in and say, as 3 ex-players are saying one thing, and give an alternative perspective that maybe CeeDee Lamb did play well. And
Peter, what I need for you to do is not get mad and let me finish for one.
Okay, go on.
It wasn't about you. It was going to be about me.
Okay.
There's a lot going on there, Ben.
Ridiculous.
It was so out of the blue, and then to double down and be a jerk, and then demand that somebody basically lay down and take you being a jerk and don't respond about it is just like, what is happening here? We cover this stuff day in and day out. We watch all these shows. That was so out of line and out of turn. And for 2 people who are so high profile at the network and work together a lot, I mean, we're recording this as they're about to appear on air again on NFL Live and then again tonight on Monday Night Countdown. What on earth is your read of what even happened and why?
I mean, I think the headlines are all about Ryan Clark trying to diminish Peter Schrager's credentials as an analyst. That's what he was effectively trying to do. I think the 2 parts of the clip that are the most telling, though, are when Ryan prefaces it by saying we shouldn't do this on TV. And then after, when he does the jab about what I need you to do is not get mad and let me finish my point. To me, that all of that, it wasn't just a shitty comment that he made in the heat of a sports debate, which happens on occasion, happens weekly, happens daily. It was clearly there's something off air here. Clearly you can watch that clip and have the opinion that these are 2 guys who don't get along off air. There's clearly some sort of bad blood, some sort of tension there. So that was my read on it. It's what is going on behind the scenes? And then to that point, Ryan Clark issues his apology and reveals they had an off-camera interaction. So it's this is not just a shitty comment. This is something much bigger.
So your assumption is similar to where my head was at, which is that the off-air thing that he referred to might have happened before, not after, or both, or whatever it might be, right? Or there was something, a week ago that we never heard about that bled in. I mean, I just think there's no way that we got enough context from the 20 seconds or so before Clark butts in that nothing that happened at that desk should or could have even riled him up to the level that he needed to do that, in my opinion. So I don't know, but it begs the question of, what exactly, what has been going on with Ryan Clark in 2025? Because, to rewind, I think this is a guy who was pretty universally beloved when he first came up after his career with the Steelers and was a fan favorite, and then dazzles with the Sports Center hits that he would do with the film breakdowns, and then, kind of starts to make inroads, becomes a favorite of Stephen A. Smith's, his podcast, has its own angle and everything to it, kind of those deep dive, very sentimental, heartfelt conversations. They're not for everybody, but he does a good job at what he does. I think quick riser through the industry, all that kind of stuff, and has a ton of jobs, whatever. And then all of a sudden this year, it's been one misstep after another, one overstep, I guess would be a better word for it, after another, commenting upon like the racial dynamics of Robert Griffin's marriage and somehow coming off of an Angel Reese argument, Caitlin Clark argument. Now this, which in addition to being just sort of out of the blue and everything like we sort of mentioned, it's also like the most tired kind of accusation in sports media. Like we don't even, if it wasn't Ryan Clark, like we probably wouldn't even cover a debate like this because it's so played out. The idea that an athlete or a non-athlete who has the more correct opinion or who's able to speak on things, it's just so. I think we talked about the RG3 RC kind of back and forth when it happened, Ben, but is this just an overworked guy? Is this just him, getting a little too big for his britches? I don't know. I don't know him personally. I'm not going to try to read too much into the why here, but it's such a left turn, I think, from the way that Clark handled himself for a decade in media up to this point.
Yeah, I mean, as recently as I think it was December 2023, I wrote a column for Awful Announcing about how like Ryan Clark is the blueprint for everything that ESPN wants out of its talent. His versatility, his ability to give strong and informed takes and analysis. He would host Get Up on occasion. Like there would be episodes where he would just be the host of Get Up. Obviously, everything he has going on with the pivot, and then all of these things feel oddly connected. And I mean, again, I don't really want to like play psychologist on it, but I can't help but feel like it's not a coincidence that it's all coming after his new contract. Like, I wonder if there's a sense of confidence or a sense of he feels bulletproof in that if he were to get let go because he said something controversial, like he'd be fine and have the pivot to fall back on. I don't know, but it just feels like ever since he signed that new contract last year, this is really ramped up to where he's just always in the middle of something. And he's typically on the wrong side of it. I mean, I said this when we talked about the RG3 stuff. If you blindly told me RG3 and Ryan Clark are in an argument, I probably would assume I'm taking Ryan Clark's side on it. And he was just so out of line, so off base, and so just so insane with what he said about Robert Griffin III's marriage that he had to issue an apology. And here he is in another situation where he has to issue a public apology. It's one of those things where it's like, if you run into, if you run into a jerk, you run into a jerk. But if you spend your whole day running into jerks, you're probably the jerk. And like this year, he's kind of felt like the jerk.
I think ESPN made him apologize. That's my read. Because the timing of it, people definitely took note of. It's like mid-second quarter of Chiefs Chargers or whatever it was. And then all of a sudden, earlier today, and then back to like, great catch by Ladd. It's like, what are we doing? Like, how did that happen? And that's not a good sign. And I think like Schrager is the wrong guy to do this with. Like, I will, just from the standpoint of interpersonal or office politics at ESPN, this is a new guy that ESPN very clearly values heavily, which is why he's even been on so many of the same shows as Ryan Clark to develop whatever their bad relationship might be here. Like when Schrager got hired, we talked about it, and I kind of facetiously threw a list at you of who's the most like upset today that this move came down. And I think I said like Schefter, which was obviously tongue in cheek, but him or Kevin Clark or Jeremy Fowler, who might kind of see himself as an up-and-coming insider over there. Maybe I said a couple other, Orlovsky, because he's just on a lot of the same shows. Maybe it's Ryan Clark. Maybe we have our answer here, and somebody was just bound to have hurt feelings when a big new personality with bold opinions and who management clearly likes enters into the fray. That might just kind of be the baseline of what happened here. Was Schrager's the new man on campus, and somebody was bound to get insulted by that.
And I think that's fair conjecture. I think you look at even just last week, they've started to think. I know you wrote about this for us at Awful Announcing. They've started to tinker with what they're going to do with that around the horn slot. They did a NFL predictions show that was fully based around, and I think branded as a Peter Schrager type of project. And so he's definitely, especially now that Shannon Sharp is in the mix, like there are definitely some opportunities to go around there at ESPN. And I don't think it's like tough to see that they value Peter Schrager as like, this is what I thought when he came in. They value him as a cornerstone talent. Like they value him because of what he brings at one, as an NFL personality, and two, because of that versatility to both be able to be a guest and a host. I think that it's pretty clear that those opportunities are starting to go his way. And so when you consider that Ryan Clark is probably the closest person now who would also be in the mix at one point, at least to be up for those opportunities, I think it's definitely fair to go there, just because that exchange was so heated and seemingly so personal that there's definitely more to the story than a disagreement over CeeDee Lamb.
You don't think CeeDee Lamb got him that fired up? Maybe they had him in fantasy. I don't know. I think he had 7 of 13 targets he caught. So maybe those extra points left on the table, they got an L in fantasy. I'm not sure.